Let's start as broad as possible. If you wanted to invest into a broad basket of stocks, here are a few options. Now, a quick reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a random guy on YouTube. Investing has risks. You are never guaranteed to make money when you invest. In fact, you will lose money at some point, so make sure you always do your own due diligence and never blindly trust a random guy on YouTube. Here are a few examples. Number one, let's say you want to invest into the total stock market. There is an ETF, a fund called VTI. This is a ticker symbol that will give you exposure to the total stock market. VTI is a fund created by Vanguard that gives you exposure to the United States total stock market. But if you wanted to get a little bit more granular, the next option might be investing your money into the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is a basket of the 500 largest companies in the stock market. Here are a couple examples. VOO and SPY. VOO is created by a company called Vanguard. SPY is created by a company called Spider. By the way, Spider is SPDR, pronounced Spider. VOO is an ETF that I'm personally invested in, but if you invest in either one of these ETFs, you get exposure to the 500 largest companies in the stock market. Then we have the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones is a basket of 30 large companies that make up America. This is one of the most prominent and well-known indexes out there because it's been around for more than 100 years, and this is giving you exposure to 30 broad companies. And there's an ETF called DIA that will give you exposure to the Dow Jones. And then we have the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is a group of the 100 largest non-financial companies in the stock market, and many of these companies just happen to be technology-based. There's an ETF called QQQ that will give you exposure to the NASDAQ. So if we put this all together, these are all ETFs, funds that give you exposure to a basket of companies. The basket of companies is either the total stock market, the S&P 500, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, or the NASDAQ. Many of these ETFs are passively managed, meaning they're managed by an algorithm. For example, in the S&P 500, there's an algorithm created by Vanguard, created by Spider, that knows which companies are the 500 largest companies. If one of the companies, say Amazon, starts to do very bad and it's no longer a part of the S&P 500, well then, Vanguard or Spider will kick that company out and replace it with another company. And because it's an algorithm, it's passively managed, so your fees are generally lower. Now let's go a little bit more narrow to industry-specific ETFs. Let's start by talking about technology. Let's say you only want to invest in tech stocks, but you don't know which tech stock to invest in. Well, there are ETFs for that. For example, there's an ETF called VGT, which is the Vanguard Technology, IT Technology ETF. And then you have an ETF called XLK, which is the Spider SPDR, which is the United States Technology ETF. Both of these ETFs give you exposure more directly just into the technology sector. Or maybe instead of technology, you want to take a look at healthcare because you believe that that's going to be a growing industry in the future. Well, there are ETFs for that as well. For example, XLV. This is an ETF created by Spider, SPDR, which gives the exposure to the healthcare sector. Likewise, another one is VHT. This is created by Vanguard. This gives you exposure to healthcare related companies without having to go out and find the right company. And then of course we have real estate. Now instead of you going out and buying a property yourself, you're investing in the companies that are investing in real estate. And a couple examples here are VNQ, another Vanguard ETF that gives you exposure to real estate investment trusts, REITs, and SCHH, a fund created by Charles Schwab, which gives you exposure to United States real estate companies. And then we can take it one more layer deeper by looking for more specific niche ETFs. So we started here very broad, giving you exposure to the broad economy. Then we went one layer deeper, talking about specific industries, specific sectors. Now we can take it even deeper by looking at more niche specific ETFs. For example, there are ETFs that give you exposure to genomics and gene editing. If you believe that genomics and gene editing is going to be a big industry in the future, well then you can look for funds in that space as opposed to find the perfect company. One example is ARKG. This is created by ARK, led by Kathy Wood. Or maybe you're a big believer in robotics and AI. Well, there's ETFs like BOTZ, bots, that give you exposure to those specific companies. Or maybe you believe that there's a big opportunity to invest in companies that provide services for people that become older because you know that baby boomers are getting older and this is going to create some sort of investment opportunity. Well, there are funds for that as well. There are funds like OLD, old, that give you exposure to companies that are servicing older people and the aging population. So now that you understand that, let's talk about how do you actually win by investing in these types of indexes. And when I say index, I mean a basket of stocks, not specifically an index fund by itself. The way that you win, especially when we talk about the broad ETFs or the broad funds, is through a strategy I call ABB, which stands for always be buying. This is very similar to, it's actually the same as what many people call DCA, dollar cost averaging. I just like ABB because it speaks pretty simply to somebody like me, because it tells me exactly what to do. The way you win is to always be buying. This is what I do myself. Now again, I don't recommend what I do to anybody else, but I have a system where every Wednesday, money leaves my checkings account and is automatically invested into my portfolio of funds. Why Wednesday? Because Wednesday is in the middle of the week. There's no secret science, there's no secret reason why, it's just the middle of the week. Every Wednesday, money is pulled out of my checkings account and invested into my portfolio of ETFs. I invest in the S&P 500. I have a lot of dividend-paying funds, and then I have some innovation funds, and then some international funds. But that's where every Wednesday, money is automatically invested into these funds, and it happens no matter what, whether it's a Republican in office or Democrat in office, whether it's raining or sunning, whether it's a recession or an economic boom, whether markets are crashing or whether markets are booming. No matter what, this will keep happening. In fact, the only time I really change this is when we see a market downturn. That's when I will invest a little bit more aggressively. But besides that, I just keep investing. I stick with it because if you have a long-term horizon, we're talking about years, generally a decade plus, this has been a proven strategy to win if you are investing in good funds. For example, if you're investing in the American economy, this has been proven. It has proven the test of time. And chances are, if you continue to do that for the next 10, 20, or 30 years, you will be able to build wealth for yourself as well. If you enjoyed this clip and you want to continue your financial education journey, I have another video that I think you'll love. All you got to do is click that button right over there. And for those of you who want to stay up to date on the top finance and business news, you can join Market Briefs, my free financial newsletter, by clicking that button below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.